Hello and welcome to the Wilson Center, the nation's key nonpartisan policy forum for tackling global issues through independent research and open dialogue to inform actionable ideas for the policy community, both here in the United States as well as abroad. We are honored to host today's event, Broadening Digital Transformation, a fireside chat with Japan's Minister of Digital Agency, Karen Makishima. And again, thank you for joining us both online as well as in person. This is one of those hybrid events that we are getting used to in the post-COVID times. The event today has been an effort of two Wilson Center programs. The first, the Science and Technology program, which I am the acting director of, and the Asia program. This demonstrates the depth and breadth of the Wilson Center's expertise in both regional programming and transdisciplinary work. But this program would not have happened without our global fellow and former Congressman and former President Emeritus of the University of Colorado, Mark Kennedy. We thank you so much for your leadership and your support of this event. Japan's digital agency is stepping into its second year with ambitious and far-sighted goals on digital reform that will impact both localities within Japan as well as the broader global partners. This is a pivotal moment for Japan's leadership in digital innovation as Japan assumes leadership of the G7 in 2023 and presses ahead with visions begun in Davos in 2019 under the leadership of Prime Minister Abe. Prime Minister Abe planted the seeds for DFFT, which stands for Data Free Flows and with Trust, as a way to foster innovation and particularly within the global trade space. He called for a defragmenting of our digital infrastructure as a key aspect of the future of global collaboration, saying it was vital to, quote, to rebuild trust toward the system for international trade. That should be a system that is fair, transparent, and effective in protecting IP, or intellectual property, and also in such areas as e-commerce. Unfortunately, as we are well aware, both Japan and the world lost Prime Minister Abe on July 8th. We'd like to hold a brief moment of silence at this time to reflect on his legacy and his contributions. Thank you. Today, we not only, though, acknowledge the past, but also look to the future. Carrying on the goals of this administrative reform and digital innovation, we are honored to talk to Minister Karen Makishima, serving as the member of the House of Representatives for Kanagawa's 17th District in Japan, and also the Minister of Digital Agency. She is a member of the Liberal Democratic Party and has served 4 terms in the House of Representatives representing her district. She is also quite at home in DC, having received her master's from George Washington University and her PhD in political science and public administration from International Christian University in 2008. The format for today's event is simple and intended to be conversational. We'll begin with some prepared questions and then open it up to audience questions. For those who are tuning in online, you can submit questions via the chat box below under the video, and I will be monitoring them and read them, be your voice in the room, as it were. For those who are here in person, you have a simpler task of raising your hand when you would like to ask a question during the Q&A. We ask in both instances that you identify who you are, what organization you're speaking from, and to please keep it to a brief question as opposed to a long comment. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Minister. Shall we begin?
Yes.
So our first question to start out is a nice, easy one. So the digital agency is relatively young. What important outcomes do you and the Prime Minister want to see advanced with the formation of this new agency?
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Newberry, for coordinating such a wonderful event for us and digital agency and also the NISC, the Cybersecurity Center of Japan. And I'm Makishima Karen, Minister for Digital and also Minister in charge of Cybersecurity, Administrative Reform, and Regulatory Reform. And before we start, I regret, but I need to address the tragedy occurred last week, and thank you very much for your heartfelt condolences that you've shown for us, and many American friends have sent messages to us Japanese, and thank you very much for that. The Prime Minister Abe was a great mentor who shared its exceptional expertise, including the secret stories of diplomacy. And I would like to highlight two particularly remarkable efforts that you've already mentioned. One is a DFFT, Data Free Flow with Trust. And he has announced that concept at the G20 Osaka Summit in 2019, and we need to deliver his legacy to G7 summit that will be hosted by Japan next year. And the other remarkable effort is the establishment of the organization that was the predecessor of Digital Agency of Japan. So without his leadership, Digital Agency was not here today. So with his efforts and leadership, I think the Digital Agency exists today. So I wanted to mention that at the beginning. And the Digital Agency was established on September the 1st last year. And during the COVID-19 pandemic spread, and many have mentioned the digitalization should have more speedy way in the Japanese digital or economical social society. And that was the reasons the Prime Minister Suga has decided to launch the new agency, which is the Digital Agency. And I was given the control tower power when we were launched. That was so much unique for us. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we've noticed some challenges that we had in Japan. One is fragmented central government and local governments, information systems, and the lack of cooperation between them. In Japan, there are 1,741 local governments from Hokkaido to Okinawa, and each local government has its system. But we needed to have the cooperation or systems that can be used by all local governments or by the central government. So we needed to have the platform of the digitalization. And the other thing is the delays and the shift to remote work due to surviving elements of analog culture. I think some of them have heard the stories of hankos, the Japanese stamps, and some employees had to go to their offices only to put hanko stamps in each paper. So why we have to have these paperwork during the remote work system situations, or why do we use hankos and stamps even now in 2021? So that was the beginning of the discussions. Our society should be more digitalized with technologies. And we do have technologies, but we cannot use them because we do have analog regulations. So we've decided after establishment of digital agency, we need to eliminate these analog regulations, and we are now preparing for the new laws that will overcome these customs or the laws or the paperwork systems. And the role of the digital agency is to realize the kinds of services naturally desired by the people and ensure that everyone can experience the convenience of digitalization by creating a human-friendly digitalized society, and wherever they live and wherever they work. So we can work remotely. We can live multiple places with digitalized technologies or platforms when you need to do that, or that is the ideal of your work-life balance concept that should be realized through digitalization. So we, digital agency, work with other agencies and ministries and local governments and also private sectors. So we set the direction or the plans of the DX of the whole society of Japan, and we are cooperating with other partners, including public and private sectors, to realize these digitalized society of Japan. That is the basic concept that we do have, and we are moving forward.
Well, Minister Makishima, it's so great to have you here, and that's a big task that you have before you, as you've outlined, but very vital and important for the nation of Japan. You already mentioned a bit about the laws haven't really kept up with the pace of digitization, and you mentioned in the past that these laws, these systems and customs have changed too slowly and perhaps are keeping some of Japanese companies from continuing to be the global leaders that they are and can be in the future. What are some of the steps that you see the government taking to encourage industry to embrace digitization and make sure that you get rid of the roadblocks that may be causing them from being able to pursue their future in a robust way?
For over 20 years, Japan's real GDP growth has stagnated comparing to various European countries or the United States. And the population of Japan is declining as a fact. And also, we are the aging society. So in that moment and under these circumstances, we need to improve the productivity in Japanese society. So to realize that we need to use the digitalizations or the technologies or the technology maps or the tech maps, which can be removed the analog concept or the rules in that many Japanese private sectors are facing right now. So to deal with this situation, the government launched the Special Commission on Digital Administrative Reform, which the Prime Minister Kishida serves as the chairman. So with his so much strong leadership, this Special Commission has started, and last November, the committee established the digital principles, and as these digital principles will be the guidelines for promoting the digitalization of Japan. The digital principles include full digital or automation principle and agile governance principle. So agility or agile are the key concepts that the digital agency is announcing to the world or to the society as a whole. But it's so much different concept that many administrative services have had in long Japanese history. So we should admit the perfectionist as kind of the key concept of the Japanese administrative services or ministries or agencies. But the newly launched digital agency has announced agility, which is a little bit different or totally different from the perfectionist. So being agile or using the concept of agile governance, I think we can improve the innovations, or we can use new technologies, or we can use drones, sensors, AIs. So with the little people, with the little workforce, we need to improve the productivity. So that is the the first steps for us to use technology like drones or AIs, or which make the people work remotely. So, or they can have the double shift, or they can check multiple places from their home. So, with these capabilities, I think we are conducting a full inspection of 40,000 of Japan's laws, notifications, notices, and everything. And of these, we are identifying items that correspond to typical analog regulations, including visual inspection regulations. So the people should visit the site and the people should check with their eyes. So these old type manuals will be reviewed by us. So that is that. Of course, so much big challenges for us. But with these challenges overcome, I think the new technologies will be our daily lives services in Japan.
Yeah, one of the things you keep bringing up is extending the benefits of digitization, not just to certain localities, but to all across Japan. And making sure that it's inclusive of all Japanese citizens. So one of the examples of that would be the Digital Garden City Innovation Program. This is a parallel conversation to what we have here in the United States, where we're talking about how to extend infrastructure capabilities like high-speed internet and other digital skills to rural areas in particular. What lessons have you learned from your efforts with the programs that your agency's booting up that may benefit American perspectives and other countries seeking to achieve similar goals?
When we talked about the digital garden city concept at G7 summit, some other ministers were interested in the concept, and especially the United Kingdom seemed to love the concept of garden city. And so we've discussed the future plans of garden city, which might be shared among us in other countries too. But I think some local areas or rural areas in the United States might adopt the concept of the garden city nation. And in rural areas in particular, which must face some such issues, first, depopulation and population aging, and similar issues must be resolved by utilizing digital technology, even in the United States or even in the United Kingdom or in other areas. And so we are not promoting to make small Tokyo towns in other areas. So each local area should be different from Tokyo. So because each local area, town, or village has its features and each character. So it should be provided and it should be protected by the people or by the communities. But still, they need to have the access to the internet, or they need to have more vibrant lives, or they might have the opportunities open to the global or cyberspace. So we will develop digital infrastructure to achieve a 5G population coverage rate of 99% by the end of 2030, fiscal year 2030. So now, and also we will achieve an optical fiber household coverage rate of 99.9 by the end of fiscal year 2027. So now the ratio of optical fiber household coverage in Japan is 99.1%. So more than 99% was covered, but less than 1% but they are the people who struggle to get the access to optical fiber households. So when we leave these issues to private sectors, they might take more time, because in these 1% population area has so much limited possibilities to get the earns from the aspect of the private sector. So for the people who live in the so much rural mountainside area, or who live in the so much small island area, have the difficulties to get the optical fiber household coverage. So these are the responsibilities of the Japanese government, central government, to cover the last 1%. So it's going to be the solution of the last 1 mile, the services. So we will not leave the last 1 mile service to the private sector, but we've declared the responsibility of the central government to cover the last 1%. So that is the part of the concept of digital garden city nation. And with these platforms like 5G or optical or fiber household coverage or the data center, each local area can build each characteristic garden city. So it's the combination of the digital platform and their concept of the garden city.
So it's less prescriptive and more of embracing the localities, but providing them the infrastructure so that they can all be digitized.
Yes. And when the people live in the mountainside and the people living there are the elderly people, or in some cases they live alone and they don't have the driver's license, and they don't have frequent buses or taxis. And in that case, these rural areas need innovation. So they need drones that will deliver milk, newspaper, eggs every day. So of course, it's good to have these technologies, or the drones can bring us pizzas in towns like Tokyo, which is good, of course. It's the part of the luxurious lives of Tokyo or big cities. But at the same time, or the more people need these services with technologies in the rural areas. So that's the combination of digital platform, technology, and the people living there, and the garden city or the nature.
Well, we look forward to watching that, because with the demographic landscape and the very strong expertise within Japan for automation, we're confident that you're going to come up with lots of great solutions as part of that innovation. You speak about how important it is that people have access to digital, but it's also important that they're able to move data across those lines. So you already mentioned Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2019 at the G20 talking about data-free flow with trust. And that concept that it benefits us all if we can access our data across borders, just as you're able to access your data in Japan, even though you're here in the U.S. But each country has their own sort of unique focus areas that they want to make sure are taken care of and that they feel trusted. And so we're thrilled how important that is for global trade and so many other things, that you and Japan had decided that you're going to bring that forward in the G7 when you're taking leadership of that in 2023. Please tell us what thoughts you have as to how you can facilitate some path towards agreement on this very important concept in the years ahead.
Yes, as you've mentioned, data constitutes one of the most important pillars of utilization of digital technologies. And data is an engine for growth that leads to socioeconomic growth, even in Japan and even in the United States or even in other countries. So this is also in line with Japan's ambition to eliminate economic and social disparities, for realizing growth and distribution under the concept of Japan's new form of capitalism that Prime Minister Kishida has announced. So we hope other countries or partners or friends to understand the concept of DFFT, and we need to discuss the meaning or the trust and how can we trusted each other will be the key when we deepen the discussions to prepare for the G7 summit that will come next year in Japan. And also, by realizing a cross-border free flow of data, we can expect to accomplish goals that include like ensuring safe, secure, and international transactions in financial field, which is part of the concepts of DFFT, and also how we can ensure the reliable, safe flow of data in the medical field, because Japan is one of the most aging society of the world, and also the medical or healthcare data is so much sensitive data, but at the same time, that will be the answers for the people who suffer difficult sicknesses, or when we cooperate with the networks of the trusted countries or private sectors, the data will be used to save lives of the people. And of course, we need to check how to ensure the reliable, safe flow of data for the latest technologies, including drones or autonomous drivings. And these industries will be the key industries of innovations in many areas or countries. So especially in the mass or mobility is one of the interesting industries for many private sectors to join. So we need data to be flowed from one country to another to improve the services, but we need to discuss from the private sector when we move forward to develop the more developed automobile or mass concepts. And also, we will encourage the flow of public information in smart cities or super cities. And in some super cities, like smart cities in Singapore or super cities in Japan, have data. So I need to discuss how to share the information that were collected in smart cities or super cities.
Great. Really quick follow-up. Can you explain for the audience what's the difference between a super city and a smart city?
In super cities, the people living there have agreed to provide their data to bring some innovative activities and whose partners are in many cases private sectors. And in Japan, we have two super cities. One is Tsukuba, and one is Osaka. And in Tsukuba, they are preparing now for the online voting system. And so far, we do not have the system in Japan, but the high school students in Tsukuba have already experienced the online voting when they did the presidential election of high schools. And some, especially the younger generations, are interested in how to be motivated in the process of the voting or democracy through using smartphones. For them, that might be easier to access to the process of democracy. And it's not only about the younger generation, but the people who have difficulties or challenges, and in some cases they have difficulties to go to the sites of the voting ballots. They prefer to use smartphones to do the online voting. So we've discussed from the technology side, or from the private sector, or from the citizens movement, but that is the proposal by Tsukuba City to do the online voting when they do the mayor election coming within 2 years, I think. So that is so much unique proposal. So the government has decided to put Tsukuba the seal of the super city and encourage them to do the so new things in that city. And the other one is Osaka, and Osaka is the hosting town of Expo in 2025, and they are preparing for that. And one of the examples of the Osaka Expo is the exhibition of the drone taxis. So we do have drones and we do have taxis, but now we do not have the combination of drone taxis. But they are planning to put some stations at the site of Expo, and that will enable them to fly from one spot A to the other spot B with the drone taxis. So these proposals sound so unique, and also many attractive reactions were received by the experts in Japan. So the Osaka idea was decided to be nominated as the super city. And smart cities has its, of course, unique concepts, but it's not that super innovative ones. But in some smart cities, they have the data storage ideas, and the elder people use wearable devices to check the healthcare record by themselves, or with the consultation of the doctors or nurses. And also they can use the community taxis or the buses to visit the community centers, and they can enjoy their community activities there. And these are the data of the health situation of these elder people living there. So they agreed to provide the data of their health check, or how much they are stressed under the particular circumstances, or how they live their lives with technologies. So the cities who are challenging these issues, and who are trying to handle these issues with technologies will be named as smart cities.
Thank you. I also want to quickly highlight that we're going to be switching in a couple of questions to questions from the audience, and that also includes everyone who is tuning in online. So please do, I'm monitoring the chat, don't be shy with relaying questions to us. And please identify yourself when you do put in a question, so that we know who you are and you're not just a voice from beyond in the internet. So a quick question, well, potentially not quick, but one of your agency's tasks is to integrate and standardize key administrative systems. You mentioned that there's over 1,700 local governments that you're working with. What is the focus of these efforts, and how's it going so far?
Yes. Now we are preparing for the government cloud, which will be established in 2025. And we hope all local governments will join the concept of government cloud. And the local municipalities have difficulties to find experts in their areas. And also, the budget should be prepared for the each system. So we will cover these struggles that the local governments have right now by using the government cloud. So I think this is going to be the solution for them. And we've already decided 20 mission critical business fields of local governments. And that include resident registration, local taxes, long-term care and welfare. So every city, village, town does these mission critical business like long-term care, local taxes. So we don't have to create a similar system in each local government. So we will provide government cloud so they can use them. So it's so much cost-effective solutions for them and for also the central government or for the whole administrative services. So I hope they will understand the concept. So by promoting the integration and standardization efforts, we aim to reduce the human and financial burden for local governments. And also, we aim to enable a focus on the improvement of resident services in line with the actual situation of different regions. So some private sectors should prepare the paperwork for each local government because each local government needs different types of paper. But it should be standardized. And by doing so, the private sector should no longer prepare each typical paperwork for each local government. So these are the desire from the private sector. So, and also we aim to enable the prompt deployment of new services. So even though the town or village is so small with the limited human resources in each area, they can provide new services by using this cloud.
Well, we've been talking about a lot of data and how important it is to everybody's lives, but keeping it protected is equally as important. We're not going to be able to have trust of individual citizens, much less countries, having data pass over other countries' lines if we don't have good cybersecurity. It's a key challenge you have before you. We've had had a good meeting with Congressman Langevin. He's got senior roles in that on both civil and the security side, and you'll have multiple meetings on this during your time here in Washington. Tell us about some of the things that you're doing, that the Japanese government is doing to bolster the cybersecurity efforts.
I was appointed as minister in charge of cybersecurity. At the same time, I was appointed a minister for digital. But last year, the minister for cybersecurity was minister of Olympics and Paralympics games because we needed to protect the cyber space when we faced the big event of Olympics and Paralympics. So we could succeed the Olympic Games. We did have so many attacks during the games, but we could protect the space during the games. So that was a success story for us. So these experiences, we now work with NISC to protect the space of cyber, which is so much essential in everyday life in Japan. But we don't have any borders of nations in the space of cyber, so we need collaboration or cooperation with other countries. And of course, the United States and Japan are the strongest allies in many ways. So we've shared the information when we noticed the malicious activities in cybersecurity areas. So we will continue to share the information to protect the safe and free cyberspace for all people of the world. And of course, with the situation of Ukraine, we understand the importance of cybersecurity more than ever. So these allies are essential.
So one last question, and then we'll turn to the audience, both here and online. One of the things you've mentioned quite a lot is like the integration of medical records and those sorts of administrative services. And I know that there are big ambitions with the My Number card and all that. What benefits, first of all, can you explain the My Number card? And then secondly, what benefits do you see being activated by those cards, and what steps are you taking to expand the usage and overcome any concerns that might arise from that sort of a process?
Okay, I'm going to show you my number card. I do have with me every day. So I think we need to provide more advantages of having these, or we hope to promote more merits that the Japanese people will enjoy. And now almost half of the Japanese people do have these cards. And this My Number card is the so much reliable identity verification, both in person and also online. So that's the tips that we do have here in the My Number cards. And we call this the passport for a safe and secure digital society. And we do have the picture here. So it's easier for the person in person or for the people online to check the identification of each person. So this is the card that can be used for proving I am this person. So by showing this card, or using the IT chip with smartphones or card readers, everyone can announce who you are. And to facilitate the spread of My Number card, it's important to greatly increase the advantages. And one is you can use this My Number card as health insurance cards. And many elderly people are asked by doctors, what is the name of your medicine? And in most cases, Japanese elderly people cannot answer the names of medicine. I doubt Americans can answer the names of the medicine. And some elder people take 2 or 3 or multiple medicine every day. And who remembers each medicine's name? But with these minor healthcare card, so there's a combination of My Number card and the health insurance cards, doctors can check the medicines that your patients are taking. If your patients understand the necessity and agree to do that. So the doctors do not have to ask what medicine you are taking in clinic in Japan. So with these specific information, the doctors can provide the services that are suitable to each patient. And with the recognition of the specific medicine, the doctor might say, okay, you need to take this surgery, but before taking this surgery or operation, you need to stop taking that medicine that might be healthier for you to do or prepare for the surgery or the checkup. Or with your medical record, you need to check other parts of your bodies, or you need to make the reservations for other clinics, or you need to do more exercise. So if you want to share your healthcare records or information or medical history with your doctors, you can do that. You do have the right to do that. That is the concept of the healthcare insurance cards of My Number card. And also, we can use this My Number card as driver's license in the future, and also we can install the functions of My Number cards to your smartphones. So from next year, we hope you don't have to bring these My Number cards. So you just bring your smartphones, and you do have the functions of My Number cards in your smartphones, which will be easier for us. So
it goes back to your point that a lot of youth in Japan are especially tied to
yes.
Mobile phones. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And also, in terms of online voting, we will realize the overseas use of My Number cards in the future in fiscal year 2024. And they can use My Number cards as your identification to do the online voting in the foreign countries.
Wow. Now we're going to switch a little bit to some of the questions that have been coming in online. If there's any questions in the room, we'll switch back and forth so that no platform is getting privileged in this hybrid space. But the first one that pops out to me here is related to the health conversation and the My Number card. The question is, can you speak a little bit more to how COVID-19, the pandemic, illuminated the need for administrative reform in Japan, and also what industries suffered the most, or how would digitization minimize risk for a similar situation, a similar pandemic in the future?
What we've done as digital agency is to build the platform of VRS, vaccine record system. And at the beginning, before this agency, Japanese administrative services responsible ministries or agencies were not sure how to build the platform that can be used by all local governments to track the record of vaccines shot of each city or town. But with these VRS, vaccine record system, we could visualize the speed of the vaccines of each area, town, city, village. So we could improve the speed. And also we could create the vaccine certificate apps that can be used on your smartphones. So these visualized data was the establishments that digital agency has done during the COVID-19. So I think we are so much prepared for it that to provide the services that can be used in every local government to provide a service relating to these vaccines when we face the similar pandemic in the future.
Thank you. And are there any questions from our in-person audience? Any hands? Otherwise, people are online and asking lots of questions. So I'll go back to the online. Speaking of local governance, Colin from Congressman Jack Bergman's office was wondering, what was your vision for local cooperation in the national digitalization efforts, particularly for rural prefectures?
It's important to deliver the messages from the central government to each local government, and in many cases, prefectures play very big roles to deliver the message from us central government to town, city, or village. And that's the main responsibility or the roles that prefectures have played in many years. But these days, honestly speaking, we can directly send message to each city, town, village from digital agency. And also, out of 700 staff in digital agency, 250 are from the private sector, and out of 450 public sector staff, some of them are from the cities or towns and villages or prefectures. So we can communicate with the staff who are from the local government in digital agency on the daily day basis. So we can easily communicate directly to the local municipality. So in some cases, the roles of prefectures are getting smaller than before, but still we need governors' leaderships to promote the new concepts or to collaborate with small cities and towns.
Great. Seeing no hands in the audience here. No? Apparently the people online had more coffee, so they're a little bit more excited here. This is actually a question that's very close to both my program's heart as well as some of your past work, Mark. It's a comment from Hisano, from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries America.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, it's said that digital literacy of Japanese people, particularly young people, is relatively low, perhaps compared historically. Do you have comprehensive education plans that would enhance digital literacy in Japan that are coming out?
Mm-hmm. Digital literacy or the education, how to use digital services safely, is so much important these days. And we do understand the responsibilities or tasks of platforms like Twitter's or the Facebook to make their space safer for the younger generations or school children's or children to use. So, of course, the parents or teachers are responsible too, but at the same time, these days, in many areas of the world, we've discussed the responsibility of platforms. And also, we need to educate the younger generations of school children how to use these services or SNS. And also, we've already started the programming studies at junior high schools or in some cases elementary schools. And they do love the classes of programming and through the very good text or experiences or with the help of private sectors or IT companies, they also learned the problem solution process through programming texts in Japan. So I think many Japanese younger generations are interested in the field, and this is the private sector the survey, but these days many high school or junior high school students are dreaming to have the jobs relating to digital technologies, or they might be engineers or programmers in the future. So we do have so much optimistic view for the future of Japan. And I'm very personally happy to see the service that not only boys but girls are interested in the field of engineering or programming. So we can see the changes of the trends when we see the differences between boys and girls.
That's wonderful. It's also a question that we tackle here in the United States is how do we foster the pipeline of talent going into technological fields? And part of it is, as you just pointed out, inspiring that enthusiasm from a younger age. Still scanning the room. Oh, we do have a question. Please remember to identify yourself.
Hello, my name is Natalia Schok, and I'm a Wilson Center Public Policy Fellow. And I have a question that you already mentioned, but I want to go deeper. So you mentioned that the trustworthy digitalization is a very important priority for the Japanese politics. And so what are the main challenges do you see in introducing the trust, the social trust to digitalization or AI implementation and political arena, or in terms of, implementing the social policy? So what are the main challenges, and maybe what are the ways that Japan has already taken in this direction to build the trust in digitalization among the population? Thank you.
Thank you very much. How to build trust is challenging topics for all of us, and in both domestically and internationally. And domestically, people's trust in e-government or the use of data will be the key concepts for them to understand the trustworthy ecosystem of data. And by providing the data without eliminating the rights of privacy of every person, the data will be provided, and also the merits will be provided by the owners of the data. So how they can see the ecosystem of these data distribution will be the key challenge domestically. And internationally or globally, how we can build trustworthy networks among G7 countries or between two countries like the United States and Japan, or with the collaboration of OECD countries, or how we can combine the concepts of the privacy and data privacy and the use of data in European countries like that. So each country or segmentation has each evaluation of trust. So we need to discuss these. And also we need to more deeply focus on the industries from the private sectors to share the data. So not only the digital agency or the public sector, I think we need to talk with the private sectors, not only in Japan, but the United States or the world in other countries, to deepen to make the use cases of DFFT.
Well, Minister Makishima, we're very appreciative of you being here today, and the conversation we've had has shown that digital is going to become ever more important, and that protecting it is ever more important. Mm-hmm. And as our last question says, having people trust that you're protecting it, that you're using it wisely, that you're using it in a way that they would want you to use it is so much more important. So we applaud the Japanese government for moving this up to a ministerial level, mm-hmm. and being wise enough to pick somebody with so much expertise and knowledge and commitment that you have. And so this rich conversation that we have here today, I think will benefit us all to understand what Japan's doing, what we can do together here, Japan and America. And to get to where we want to go to, we're going to have a lot more conversations. So we'll look forward to continuing this dialogue with you and with Japan, and very much appreciative of you being here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll follow you out.